Hi everyone. For Division 3, I'm going to be going over, social judgment theory. This theory really explains how people react to new ideas or suggestions based off of what they already believe in. Everyone usually already is biased towards something or has an anchor for their current attitude. And when they hear something new, they decide if it falls, into the range of acceptance, rejection, or if they're kind of neutral about it. The further your ideas from their anchor, the more likely they are to reject it. But if you keep your message closer to what they actually stand for, you're more than likely could be able to persuade them over time, even if it's a little bit here and there. That really clicked with me because it lines up with what I've learned from working with dealers, and even from this new book I've started reading a while back, Never Split the Difference. That book talks about mirroring the conversation, repeating back part of what someone just said to show them you're listening and to help, them feel understood. Over time, I kind of realized how powerful that is in conversations. Really mirroring helps you figure out where someone's, anchor really is, so you don't overstep or push them into rejection, right away. You know, I've used this a lot. When I'm talking with dealers who are resisting changing to a new business system. For example, I was working with a dealer who didn't want to move to our updated system. I kept hearing things like, "We've always managed fine with our old system and doing things the old way." Things like, "My team doesn't need all these extra steps. That'll just slow them down." In the past, I probably would have jumped right into explaining why the new system is better and it could, make them more productive, which usually will make somebody really dig in a little bit more. I mean, I'm kind of the same way. But instead, I kind of mirrored him in the conversation, asking, "We've always managed just fine," questioning that, "How did you manage just fine with your old system?" Kind of really let him talk it through and, resonate on that. He opened up and explained, that his team was already overwhelmed and could be really worried about learning a new system during their peak season. I'm not going to follow it up with, "Sounds like our biggest concern is making sure your team doesn't get burned out or frustrated during this transition." I feel like that kind of completely changed the tone of the conversation. Once he knew, I understood where he was coming from, and I was able to reframe the new uh, system as actually something that would actually make their daily lives easier. It kind of gives their team a little bit more breathing room. By the end of the meeting, he agreed to move forward with a small pilot, and we could revisit this, in a month or so. I've seen the same thing happen in meetings with my own teammates. If somebody shoots down an idea that I have, instead of defending it right away, I mirror what they're saying and dig into why they feel that way. Most of the time, they want to just feel heard about why they're willing to consider all, alternatives. This theory really feels true to me because it explains why people can shut you down or push too hard. That the rejection isn't just stubbornness. It could be because of the way your idea feels outside of their comfort zone to them. And it also shows that small steps matter. I think that this approach not only improves communication, but it also could build trust between you and somebody else. Uh, Moving people just a little closer to your side instead of trying to win them over all at once is something that, I try to incorporate every day going forward from what I've learned in the past. Whether I'm working with a dealer, some of my own teammates, or having some tough conversations with family or friends. Starting where they are and mirroring their concerns almost leads to better outcomes in the long run. Thanks.